Question from Chris Hurd. Skip, we are going to rent out our house like you did yours in the past. Do you still have a copy of a rental lease you used? If so, can you email it to me? Thanks, Chris. Nah, Chris, I don't have that anymore. I never bought a rental lease. I never went to a lawyer about a rental lease. It was my property. I've rented out houses before. A lease is whatever you want it to be. I made my own rules. I set my own terms. And with the computer nowadays, I just made it out, printed it off. I had an e-commerce or e-something with the rental thing. So most of the times I sent my rental leases out by email. There was only one time I think somebody wanted me to mail it to them because they didn't have a computer, and they called me. And I did. I mailed it to them, and when they mailed the lease back, it had the deposit check attached to it. I never had any problem with that either, really. But the emailing way is the easiest way to go, the quickest way to go. And I just made up my own rules. So I'm trying to think of some of them real quick to maybe kind of give you an idea. One was, if you wanted to rent the place, I had my set prices for rent. It was on my web page where I advertised the house. I had pictures of the house. It was on, well, back then it was called thevillagesforrent.com. They've changed the name. Same web page, but they changed the name. Now it's called Villagers Homes for Rent. The 4 is a number. But I advertised it on there and had all the ins and outs of what it was, what came with the house, so on and so forth. Prices on each month. One was, I wouldn't rent my house out by the week. You had to rent it by the month or you didn't get it. I wanted to stay away from people showing up with kids and coming down here and spending a week or two as a vacation and bothering my neighbors with children. I didn't want to do that. So either you rented it by the month or you didn't get it. It specifically said on my lease, no children were allowed, period. Also, I allowed small dogs only, like I want to say 20 pounds or less. No cats whatsoever, none. No smoking inside the house whatsoever. All smoking had to be outside the lanai. I didn't even want it in a lanai. It had to be outside. And all cigarette butts had to be picked up. No flipping cigarette butts in my yard. Or if you did, it better be, you know, filterless cigarettes, so it would all dissipate. There was a cleaning fee. I think I charged like $50 or something cleaning fee at the end of your rent. That had to be paid up front. The deposit had to be paid 10 days from the time that you received my lease. You had to have that money either direct deposited into my account, or you had to send me that check. I had to receive it within 10 days from the time you receiving that lease. So if I emailed it to you on a Monday, let's say it's the 1st, then by the 11th I better receive that money, or otherwise that was it. I'd go down to the very next person, and then you were just done, period. And if I got your check, I sent it back. Which I never had to do that, by the way. Also, it said in there that if you leased it for a month or if you leased it for 3 months, I didn't care how long you leased it for, but whatever you leased it for, whatever the total bill came to, that money was due to me 45 days before occupancy. So the big money is January, February, and March. And I'm just going to throw this number out there. What I rented mine for, I'm just going to throw it out there. Let's say you get $3,000 a month for January, February, and March. That's $9,000. January 1st is actually where it starts, but you back up 45 days. So give or take, somewhere around Thanksgiving or right before Thanksgiving, you should be receiving a $9,000 check in the mail. Once you get that and deposit it, that gives you 45 days to get everything in place. And in my case, I had a home watch guy that would meet people over there if he knew when they were going to show up. But I would give him my home watch guy's phone number. I'd email it to him, his name, and stuff like that in case they got a problem. That's what I paid him for. they could come call him, and he'd come right over and take care of things. But generally, about 72 hours, roughly, before you were due to arrive, then I would email you the combination to the key box. The key box was at some disclosed place on the house, and you would put this code in, and then you could open the front of it up, and there were keys in there. And that key would unlock the front door. Generally, just one key, unlock the front door right there. And then that lets you in the house. And once you were in the house, on the bar, there was usually a big bowl. We had a bowl yay big around. And in that bowl would be golf cart keys, because I rented mine out with a golf cart. Had golf cart keys, had one gate pass card that was in an envelope, and I would put on that card that if you lose this card or do not return that card to me, there'd be a $25 replacement for that card taken off of your deposit. There would be a lot of, my wife kept a notebook next to it, a lot of information there for them about the activities and where to go and all this and that. I also relinquished my residency rights, which there's a legal way to do that here. It's very simple. For my winter renters, when the last time we would come down, the year before, for our summer vacation, on the way out, I stopped by Spanish Springs, where the office is, and we would turn in my resident card and my wife's resident card. And then we would fill out papers for the people that was going to rent my house for January, February, and March. Now keep in mind, the way I rented mine was, you had to rent it for all 3 months, or you didn't get it at all. I wouldn't rent it out month at a time for those 3 months, because those are so popular here. You can do that. You can demand, I want a 3-month rental, or I'm just not going to rent it. And that's what I did. And so I'd fill out paperwork for just those people for January, February, March. And it just asked their name and when they're going to arrive and when are they going to leave, you know, which you know when that is. And then when they would show up to go get their what we call residency passes, I guess, residency cards, temporary resident cards, they had all the rights that I had as a homeowner, because I relinquished my rights and gave it to them. And I also never charged them anything. I just give it to them. A lot of people are playing games with that, and I don't think it's right, but it's none of my business. They're telling you it's $50 or $100 to get residency passes. And they're just playing a game, because it doesn't cost them nothing to relinquish their rights and give them to somebody else. So anyway, I gave mine away for the rent and everything. And then at the end of it, you know, then they would leave, and then home people would go in there and clean it up and whatever. So that $50 cleaning fee that I charged took care of that. And then my home watch guy would go over, and he would inspect everything, and then he would call me with a report. And if I needed any pictures, and he would send them and email them to me. But basically, I never had a problem with anybody except one guy once. And so once I got a report from him stating that everything was okay, everything looked really good, no problems, everything was hunky-dory, and all this and that, at that time I would write out a check, the deposit check, and I would send it to the people. I'd send it back to them. Now, that's the way it goes for most renters. I had the same people rent my house every January, February, and March. They come from Canada. I never had a problem with these people. I've never met them. My home watch guy said that they were super nice people, never a problem. It just got to the point that I never charged these people any cleaning fee anymore, because before they would go home, he told me himself, they swept the carpets, they cleaned everything in the house, they put everything back the way it was. He said everything was so clean. He said, really? He said, I don't see no reason to. And so the first year I sent their cleaning fee back to them. And after that, I just never charged them anymore. And then after about the third year, I never even charged them a security deposit. He just called me and say, hey, we'd like to have this again next year. Should I, you know, send you a deposit? And I just say, you know, not really. I said, you guys been coming down every year, so, you know, I'm good. But just do me a favor. If something happens where you don't think you're going to make it, try to give me as much advance notice as possible so I can get somebody else in there. And they rented that place, and even, I think, till the day I sold it. And I'm not 100% sure, but I sent the information of the new owners to them, because the new owners told me that they were going to rent it out in the winter too. And I said, well, I've got people that might rent that every year because they just like the area. And I don't know if they continue renting it or not. But anyway, that's how I did it. So it wasn't a big deal. So that'd be my advice. You know what you want. You know how you want it done. You know what you allow. You know what you won't allow. Just put it in writing and put it on an e-commerce thing, or however they do that, on your email, in your folder, in your file, all this computer talk. I don't know what all the right lingo is, where you can just email it. But be very strict on the money. That it's got to be here, your deposit's got to be here within 10 days. 45 days before occupancy, before you'll get a key code. Because I also didn't hire any property management company either. I did it all myself. I've done this before, and I know how it's done, and I did it for a few years, and I never had a problem, like I said. So, anyway, good luck to you. I hope everything works out well, and if you got any more questions, don't hesitate to send me an email, and I'll do my best to answer it. So I hope I answered this question well for you. In the meantime, I'll see you all on the other side.